The morning air was cool and fresh as the small bus rolled toward the royal palace grounds. Sunlight spread across the old stone walls and wide-open green fields, making everything look bright and welcoming. Inside the bus sat a group of visitors from a special needs community center, each of them dressed neatly and carrying a mix of excitement and nervousness. They had been looking forward to this day for weeks. It was not every day that they got the chance to visit the Royal Guard stables and see the famous horses up close. Among the visitors was a young man named Liam. He sat near the window, watching the world outside with quiet eyes. Liam did not speak much, especially when he felt anxious. He loved animals, but he also grew easily overwhelmed when things were loud or unfamiliar. Horses, in particular, fascinated him. They were big, powerful, and gentle all at the same time. He admired them on television and in books, but being near one, in real life, felt like something he wasn't sure he was ready for. Still, he had agreed to come, holding on to the hope that maybe he would find the courage he often wished for. The bus finally slowed, turning onto a beautiful stone path lined with trimmed hedges and a few colorful flowers. Far ahead, the visitors could see a group of tall buildings, some modern and some historic, all part of the palace complex. Sunlight glinted against the large stable doors, and everyone leaned forward to get a better look. A few whispered excitedly. One of the caretakers from the center, Miss Harper, gently reminded them to stay together once they got off the bus. When the bus door opened, warm sunshine washed over the group as they stepped outside. Birds sang from the high trees, and the distant sound of hooves echoed softly from inside the stable area. The wide open yard smelled faintly of hay, leather, and the clean scent of animals. For some, this was comforting. For others, including Liam, it was a reminder of how real and close everything was becoming. 2 royal guards in their formal uniforms stood waiting for the group. Their uniforms were neat and bright, and their posture was straight and serious, just as one might expect from guards responsible for the palace horses. The visitors admired them from a safe distance at first, unsure whether they were allowed to approach. But then, one of the guards stepped forward with a warm smile. "Good morning," the guard said, his voice friendly but calm. "My name is Sergeant Hale, and this is my partner, Officer Bennett. We'll be guiding you through the stables today." His gentle tone made several people relax. Miss Harper introduced the group, explaining that some visitors might feel shy or overwhelmed and might need a little extra time. Sergeant Hale listened with patience, nodding thoughtfully as she spoke. "Please take your time," he said kindly. "Our horses are trained to stay calm. Nothing here will rush you." Liam appreciated those words more than anyone could guess. The group began walking toward the stables. The path was wide, with a smooth surface that made it easy for everyone, including those using wheelchairs, to move comfortably. As they walked, Officer Bennett shared small details about the palace grounds, how the horses were trained, how they helped during ceremonies, and how much care went into keeping them healthy. Some visitors listened with curious smiles, while others remained quiet, taking in the sights. Liam walked near the back of the group, keeping a small distance. He liked listening but did not want to be the center of attention. Every now and then, he looked toward the large wooden stable doors, both eager and afraid to see what waited inside. As they got closer, the sound of gentle snorts and steady breathing grew clearer. A few horses peeked their heads over the stable doors, their ears perked up, and their large dark eyes watching the newcomers with calm interest. Some of the visitors gasped softly, surprised by how big and beautiful the horses were. The animals were tall, with shiny coats and neatly brushed manes that fell perfectly to the side. One girl in the group let out a small squeal of excitement, clapping her hands. Another visitor, an older man, took a careful step back, not frightened, but respectful of the horse's size. The atmosphere was full of wonder, mixed with just a little fear of the unknown, the kind that makes moments unforgettable. Liam stood very still as his eyes locked on a single horse near the first stall. The horse's coat was a soft brown, and its mane was a slightly darker shade. Something about the way the horse blinked slowly and calmly made Liam feel both drawn in and overwhelmed. He folded and unfolded his hands, unsure of what to do. "Miss." Harper looked back at him and gave him a small, encouraging smile. "You're doing great," she whispered softly. Sergeant Hale noticed too. His eyes were sharp but kind. He had guided many groups through these stables, including children, adults, and visitors with different needs. He took a moment to watch Liam from a respectful distance, not wanting to startle him. As the group stopped just outside the stable entrance, Sergeant Hale lifted a hand, signaling the visitors to gather around for a short introduction. "These horses are part of the Royal Guard," he explained. "They help during ceremonies, parades, and special events. They are trained to stay calm in all kinds of situations, including crowds and loud sounds." He paused, glancing gently at Liam and the others who seemed unsure. "They won't move suddenly, and they won't come too close, unless you want them to. You can take your time." The warmth in his voice helped settle the air. The visitors leaned in closer, curious and eager to hear more. Officer Bennett unlocked the first stable door, but held it only slightly open so the group could peek inside without feeling overwhelmed. Inside, the stable was clean and bright. Sunlight streamed in through large windows, lighting up the fresh straw beds and polished equipment hanging neatly on the walls. The smell of hay was stronger here, but not unpleasant. Everything felt peaceful and well cared for. The horse inside the first stall lifted its head, but did not move from its place. It watched the group with soft eyes, then slowly lowered its head again, as if showing it understood that it needed to be gentle. A few visitors stepped forward, encouraged by the calm energy in the stable. Liam stayed in the back, pressing his fingers together nervously. He wanted to step closer, but his legs refused to move. His heart beat fast, not from fear of danger, but from the overwhelming idea that he might finally be near a real horse. Sergeant Hale noticed him again and spoke in a gentle voice meant for the whole group, but with a softness directed toward Liam. "Horses can sense how people feel," he said. "They understand when someone is nervous. They'll stay calm and quiet around you. Sometimes," he added, smiling lightly, "they even wait for you to feel ready." Those simple words settled around Liam like warm sunlight. He took a small step forward, just one. But to him, it felt like a giant leap. The others didn't notice, but Miss Harper did. She placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, not pushing, just reassuring. "You're brave," she whispered. The group slowly moved deeper into the stable area. The sound of soft hooves shifting on straw filled the quiet air. The horses watched the visitors with patient eyes, showing no sign of discomfort or restlessness. Even the tall guard horses, trained for discipline and ceremony, gave off a calm, almost welcoming presence. As they continued, Liam stayed close behind the others, taking in every small detail: the shine of the horses' coats, the soft sounds they made, the way the guards spoke with care. Each moment helped his fear shrink just a little. He didn't touch a horse. Not yet. But in his heart, something gentle had begun to grow, an early spark of courage that he didn't fully understand, but wanted to follow. The visit had barely begun, yet already, something unforgettable was taking shape. The group slowly moved deeper into the stable area, following the gentle instructions of Sergeant Hale and Officer Bennett. The early excitement from seeing the horses had settled into a quieter feeling, a mix of curiosity, hesitation, and growing comfort. Sunlight filtered through the large windows, creating soft, warm patches on the floor. Every few moments, a horse shifted its weight or let out a calm breath, filling the space with sounds that felt steady and reassuring. Liam walked carefully, staying close to the center of the group. He listened to the soft conversations around him, the visitors whispering how beautiful the horses were, the caretakers gently checking if everyone was all right. and the guards explaining little details about how the horses were trained. Liam wanted to focus on the calmness of the moment, but his heart still beat a little faster than usual. Whenever he looked up, he saw the horses watching them with quiet, patient eyes. Their stillness didn't feel scary. It felt peaceful, like they understood that the visitors needed time. Still, Liam kept a small distance. He felt safer observing from just a few steps away. Sergeant Hale walked beside the group with a calm confidence. Even though his uniform was formal and his posture was straight, there was something warm about him, something that made people trust him easily. He occasionally glanced at Liam, not staring, just checking to make sure he was doing all right. He had guided many groups before, and he knew that some visitors needed extra space and time to adjust. The group stopped near the row of stalls, and Sergeant Hale began to talk again, his voice steady and gentle. "The horses you see here are very special," he said. "They are trained slowly and kindly, so they learn to stay calm around all kinds of people. We never force them, and they never rush anyone. They learn from our energy. If we stay calm, they stay calm." Several visitors nodded, appreciating his words. One girl, seated in a wheelchair, smiled brightly as a white horse peeked out from its stall and made a soft sound in her direction. The girl giggled quietly, waving at the horse even though she wasn't close enough to touch it. Officer Bennett approached the group with a small bucket filled with soft brushes. "You don't have to touch a horse if you don't want to," he explained. "But if anyone feels ready, we have some brushes you can use to gently groom them. Only one brush at a time, and only if you're comfortable." For a moment, the group fell silent. Grooming a horse sounded exciting, but many of the visitors weren't sure if they were brave enough to try it. A little boy reached out to take a brush but pulled back his hand at the last second. Another visitor looked at the brushes with interest but shook her head shyly. Liam stared at the brushes too. His hands twitched slightly at his sides. He wanted to try, but the idea felt too big. He wasn't sure if he could handle standing that close to a horse, touching it, feeling it breathe beside him. He swallowed hard and loosened his tense shoulders. Miss Harper stepped closer to him. "You don't have to do anything today," she whispered. "Just being here is already brave." Liam nodded once, grateful for her understanding. He kept his eyes on the nearest horse, a tall, dark brown one, who stood quietly in its stall, its head raised with slow, gentle movements. Sergeant Hale noticed the hesitation and rested one hand lightly against the wooden stall door, showing the group how relaxed he was. "Let me show you something," he said softly. "When we work with the horses, we always approach from the side, never from behind, or suddenly from the front. We let them see us, smell us, and understand that we want to be friendly." He opened the stall door just a few inches and stepped inside slowly. The horse lowered its head toward him. The moment was so calm that even the most nervous visitors leaned forward just a little, wanting to see what would happen next. The horse made a gentle huffing sound and rested its chin near Sergeant Hale's shoulder. He stroked its neck lightly. "See?" he said softly. "No rush. The horse waits for you to feel ready. They are very good at noticing how people feel." Several visitors gasped quietly, amazed by how sweet and patient the horse was. Even Liam felt a soft wave of comfort wash over him. Seeing the guard, who looked so strong and serious, interact with the horse as if it were the gentlest creature, made Liam's fear shrink a little more. The group moved on to the next row of stalls. Here, the horses seemed even more curious. One of them made a soft sound that almost felt like a greeting. Another rested its head on the stall door, blinking slowly at the visitors as if welcoming them. A tall boy named Jonah, who usually kept to himself, stepped a little closer than before. "They're nice," he murmured, surprised by his own words. His caretaker beamed with pride. "Yes, they really are," Officer Bennett said, encouraging him. "Would you like to hold a brush?" Jonah hesitated, then nodded once. Slowly, almost carefully, he took the brush from the officer's hand. The small victory made the whole group smile. Liam watched Jonah with interest. Seeing someone else take a brave step made him feel less alone. Maybe he wasn't the only one who felt scared. Maybe everyone here was trying in their own way. As they walked forward, they reached one stall that was slightly open. A beautiful horse with light brown fur stood inside. Its ears flicked gently in curiosity. Miss. Harper pointed at a plaque beside the stall. Her name is Aster, she read softly. The name suited her. Aster looked calm, friendly, and deeply aware of her surroundings. Liam felt something shift inside him. His feet stopped moving. His eyes stayed fixed on Aster's soft, warm eyes. He didn't feel afraid. Not exactly. What he felt was something quieter, like a gentle pull toward the horse. Aster slowly moved her head closer to the opening. She didn't come too close. She didn't make any sudden sounds. She just lowered her head enough so Liam could see her clearly. Her eyes were soft and peaceful. Her breathing was slow, steady, almost comforting. Sergeant Hale noticed the moment. He didn't step in right away. Instead, he let Liam have space, letting him take in the moment naturally. After a few seconds, he walked closer and spoke softly to the group. Aster is one of our calmest horses, he said. She's very patient. Sometimes she chooses the people she wants to meet. Liam blinked. His heart fluttered with a strange mix of nervousness and hope. Miss Harper stepped beside him, her voice kind and quiet. Do you want to stand a little closer? She asked, not pushing, just offering. Liam didn't speak. Instead, he took a single, small step. Aster lowered her head again, as if acknowledging him. That tiny step felt like climbing a mountain to Liam. But he did it. And nothing bad happened. In fact, something beautiful was beginning. Aster breathed softly, letting her warm breath drift gently toward him. Liam felt a soft rush of air against his hands, and instead of fear, he felt something like comfort. Something like connection. The rest of the group watched quietly, sensing that something important was happening. No one laughed, no one spoke loudly. Everyone understood that this moment belonged to Liam and Aster. Sergeant Hale smiled, small, warm, and proud. Sometimes, he said quietly, the horses choose the moments that people need most. Liam didn't understand everything about that sentence, but he understood that the horse was not trying to scare him. She was trying to meet him. Slowly, gently. And for the first time that day, Liam felt the first real spark of courage grow inside him. A quiet stillness filled the air as Aster kept her soft gaze on Liam. It was as if the rest of the stable faded into the background. The gentle breaths of the horses, the hushed whispers from the group, even the footsteps of the guards softened to a quiet hum. Liam stood frozen, not in fear, but in a strange mixture of surprise and wonder. Aster's calm eyes were warm, steady, and inviting, almost as if she understood him without words. Liam took another small step forward, moving slowly so he would not startle the horse or himself. His shoes made a faint sound on the stable floor, and Aster flicked her ears lightly, acknowledging the sound without reacting in a way that might scare him. Liam's heart fluttered, but he didn't step back. Something about Aster made him feel safe, as though she was telling him it was all right to be uncertain. Miss Harper watched from a respectful distance, her hands clasped in front of her as she carefully avoided putting any pressure on him. She knew Liam's steps. Even the smallest ones were brave ones. Jonah, the boy who had taken a brush earlier, stood beside his caretaker, leaning slightly forward to watch. The girl in the wheelchair smiled brightly, as if silently cheering Liam on. Sergeant Hale stepped close enough to guide, but far enough not to interrupt the quiet connection forming. Horses can sense feelings, he said softly, his voice low and gentle. They understand when someone needs kindness. Aster gently lowered her head a little more, Her soft, warm breath drifted over Liam's hands. He tensed for a moment, then relaxed, as the warmth wrapped around his fingers like a soft blanket. She didn't touch him, she simply breathed. It was her way of saying she meant no harm. Liam slowly lifted one hand halfway, then paused. His fingers trembled. He looked at Aster's eyes again, as if asking for permission. Aster responded by lowering her head even further, slowly, carefully, like she wanted to make the choice easier for him. Sergeant Hale noticed the moment and quietly spoke to Liam. "If you want to touch her," he explained, "you can move slowly and let her see your hand. If you don't want to, that's okay too. She's happy just being near you." Liam swallowed and took another small step. Then, very slowly, he extended his hand. Aster remained still, her breath steady. Liam's hand hovered in the air for several long seconds before he gently touched the side of her muzzle with the softness of someone who had feared this moment but secretly dreamed of it. Aster didn't move away. She accepted the touch with quiet grace, her fur warm and smooth beneath Liam's fingers. Liam felt a wave of emotion rise inside him. Not fear, but joy mixed with disbelief. His breath caught in his throat, and his eyes widened as if he had just touched something magical. The group behind him let out a small, collective sigh of awe. Even the quietest visitors felt the sweetness of the moment. The girl in the wheelchair clapped lightly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Jonah grinned softly, holding his brush close to his chest as he whispered something to his caretaker. Miss Harper's eyes grew wet with emotion, though she quickly blinked away the tears so she wouldn't draw attention to herself. She had known Liam for years and had rarely seen him step forward so confidently towards something that scared him. She pressed a hand to her chest, feeling her heart swell with pride. Aster lifted her head slightly, allowing Liam's hand to slide gently along her muzzle. Then she made a soft, warm sound that felt like a quiet greeting meant only for him. Liam let out a shaky breath, the kind of breath someone releases after holding in too much for too long. Officer Bennett smiled as he leaned toward Sergeant Hale. "She really does choose people, doesn't she?" he whispered. Sergeant Hale nodded, keeping his voice low so he wouldn't interrupt the moment. "She has a way of knowing who needs a little extra kindness. And Liam moved his hand again, touching Aster's fur with a little more confidence this time. His fingers were no longer shaking as badly. He felt the gentle movements of her breathing, steady and slow, like a rhythm that helped calm his own. Aster blinked slowly, a sign of relaxation, and then nudged her muzzle softly forward, not enough to surprise him, just enough to show affection. Liam gasped lightly, not expecting her gentle nudge, but then he smiled. A small smile at first, then a bigger one that spread across his whole face. It was a rare smile, the kind that shone with real happiness. Miss Harper whispered, "Look at him." But her voice was too soft for anyone but herself to hear. Sergeant Hale raised a hand and softly invited the rest of the group to step closer, making sure they didn't overwhelm Liam or the horse. "Aster is being very gentle," he said. "If anyone else wants to meet her, we'll take turns." The visitors gathered around, moving slowly and quietly. They treated Liam's moment with respect, giving him space to continue his connection with Aster. It wasn't often that they saw him so open, and none of them wanted to interrupt such a powerful moment. Officer Bennett knelt beside the girl in the wheelchair. "Would you like to come a bit closer?" he asked kindly. She nodded eagerly, and he carefully rolled her forward. Aster turned her head slightly toward the girl, making a soft sound once again. The girl laughed, a bright, happy sound that filled the stable. Her laughter made everyone else smile. The horse's calm presence had opened a gentle door inside each visitor, encouraging them to face their fears and allow themselves to feel joy. A second horse nearby, a tall black one with shiny fur, noticed the girl's laughter and leaned its head over the stall door out of curiosity. It didn't push toward her, but simply watched her with big, kind eyes. When the girl turned her head and saw him, she waved both hands in delight. The horse responded by flicking his ears gently. Officer Bennett chuckled, softly. "They really do love meeting new people," he said. Meanwhile, Liam was still standing with Aster, his hand resting softly on her muzzle. He felt calm, in a way he rarely felt. It was the kind of calmness that didn't come from people telling him everything was okay, but from experiencing a moment where he truly believed it. Aster had trusted him enough to lean in. She had given him space, waited for him, and welcomed him when he was ready. After a few quiet minutes, Liam stepped back just a little. Aster lifted her head as if wondering why he moved away, but then she lowered it again, as if to say, she understood. Liam breathed deeply and looked around. The whole stable felt brighter, friendlier, safer. He didn't feel like someone standing in the back anymore. He felt like someone who belonged in the moment. Sergeant Hale approached him with a warm expression. "You did wonderfully," he said softly. "Not everyone connects with a horse this quickly. Aster must really like you." Liam looked down shyly but nodded. It was the kind of nod that didn't need words to explain how special the moment had been. The rest of the group gathered around Aster. Some touched her gently. Others admired her from a few steps away. The stable that had once felt a little intimidating now felt like a place filled with kindness and gentle energy. The horses stood calmly, their presence soft and steady. As the group continued exploring the stable, Liam walked a little closer to the front of the group this time. He no longer kept his distance. Something inside him had shifted, something small but important. He felt braver, more open, and surprisingly proud of himself. Aster watched him walk away, her eyes following him just for a moment before she returned to her peaceful posture. It was clear she had given him more than a moment. She had given him a memory he would carry for a long time. And the day was far from over. The horses had only begun to share their unexpected kindness. The stable felt different now. Softer somehow, as if the horses themselves had breathed kindness into the air. The group, once hesitant and unsure, now moved with more confidence. Their steps were lighter, their voices brighter, and their smiles more natural. Even those who normally preferred to stay in the background now leaned forward with curiosity, wanting to see more, feel more, and experience more of this gentle place. Liam walked near the front of the group for the first time since the tour began. He didn't rush. He didn't try to lead. But he stayed close enough that he could see Aster's stall, even as they moved farther away. The warmth he had felt from her still lingered in his chest, like a soft glow that refused to fade. He kept touching his fingers together in a quiet rhythm, a small habit of his, but the movement felt calmer than before. Sergeant Hale noticed the change in the group and adjusted his tone accordingly. His voice took on a more relaxed quality, no longer needing to reassure them at every step. "Horses like Aster," he said as they walked, "help people feel safe. They are gentle animals when treated with kindness, and they often sense when someone needs comfort." Officer Bennett walked alongside the visitors, occasionally pointing out little things they might have missed earlier, the way the horses' ears moved when listening, the meaning of the small symbols on the stable doors, the softness of the special hay spread across the floor. One visitor asked, "Do they remember people after they meet them?" Officer Bennett chuckled softly. "They do. Horses have very good memories, especially when someone treats them gently. Aster will remember today." Liam almost turned around to look at her again, but he stayed facing forward. He felt proud knowing that she might remember him, even if he couldn't find the words to say so. The group approached a larger area inside the stable, an open space where the horses practiced standing still for ceremonies. The floor was clean and smooth, with soft matting that made it easier for the horses to stay comfortable. Sunlight streamed in through the high windows, glowing on the polished equipment hanging on the walls. The room felt more formal, almost like a quiet classroom for the horses. But when the visitors walked in, the seriousness of the room gently softened. The horses inside were peaceful, some resting their heads over their stall doors, others quietly munching on hay. One of the caregivers, Mr. Dillon, pushed the girl in the wheelchair carefully to the center of the room. She looked all around with sparkling eyes, pointing excitedly whenever she saw a new horse. Her laughter echoed through the stable, light and joyful, and even the horses seemed to perk up at the sound. A tall gray horse with a soft white mane slowly walked toward the front of its stall to see what was happening. Its eyes landed gently on the girl, and it stretched its neck forward, not too far, just enough to show interest. The girl giggled and waved both hands. The horse flicked its ears happily, as if responding. Sergeant Hale walked over to her with a warm smile. "This is Cloud," he said. "He loves friendly people." The girl stretched her hand out. Not to touch, but to say hello from afar. Cloud lowered his head slightly, almost like a polite bow. The girl squealed with pure delight. It made everyone around her smile, even the guards, who were used to strict professionalism. Mr. Dillon placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're making a new friend," he said. Cloud stood very still, his eyes soft and calm. It was one of those quiet moments that said more than any words could. Meanwhile, Jonah held his brush tightly in both hands. He looked at another horse, a tall brown one, with a gentle face. He shifted from one foot to the other, unsure whether he should go closer. His caretaker noticed and whispered something encouraging. Jonah nodded once, then took 2 brave steps forward. Officer Bennett approached with a soft smile. "Would you like help brushing him?" he asked. Jonah nodded, and Officer Bennett guided his hand gently. Jonah's face brightened as he touched the horse's coat. He brushed with slow movements at first, then with a little more confidence as the horse stood still and calm beneath his hand. "Good job," the caretaker whispered proudly. Jonah smiled, a full, proud smile that lit up his entire face. The horse flicked its tail softly, completely relaxed. While all this was happening, Liam watched quietly, still keeping Astor's presence in the back of his mind. Seeing the others growing braver made him feel stronger too. He didn't try to brush another horse, he didn't feel ready for that, but he walked without shrinking back, without hiding behind anyone. That alone was a big step for him. Sergeant Hale approached the group again. "You're all doing wonderfully," he said. "These horses have been around many people, but they enjoy days like this. They like calm company." Miss Harper nodded. "I can see it. Everyone looks more relaxed. The stable didn't feel like a strict, royal place anymore. It felt warm and welcoming, almost like a home full of gentle giants who knew exactly how to comfort people without using a single word." As they continued walking, the group passed by a long row of saddles hanging neatly on the wall. Each saddle was polished until it shined, with different small decorations that showed which horse used it. Some of the visitors leaned in for a closer look. The details were fascinating. Tiny symbols, soft leather, and neat stitching. Officer Bennett explained, "Each horse has a saddle made especially for them. It fits their size and shape, so they stay comfortable." One visitor asked softly, "Do the horses like wearing them?" "They're used to it," Bennett replied. "We only put them on gently. The horses know it means it's time to work, but not in a way that troubles them." Liam reached out and touched one of the saddle straps hanging at the bottom. The leather felt smooth beneath his fingers. He imagined Astor wearing her saddle during ceremonies, standing tall and proud. He wondered if she ever felt nervous like he did sometimes. Then he reminded himself that she had stood calmly with him, like she wanted him to feel brave too. At the far end of the room, they reached a wooden bench where visitors could rest. The group took a small break. Some sat down. Others stood nearby, still admiring the horses from different angles. Liam sat on the edge of the bench, feeling the soft warmth of the stable around him. Miss Harper sat beside him. She didn't speak at first. She simply gave him space to breathe and think. After a moment, she said softly, "I'm proud of you." Liam looked down at his hands. His fingers twitched, but only gently. He didn't know how to respond in words, so he simply nodded. That was enough for Miss Harper. From across the room, Aster peeked her head out from her stall, as if she sensed him even from far away. Her ears flicked, and she breathed softly. Liam lifted his head and caught her looking at him. A small smile formed on his face. He felt as if Aster was silently cheering him on, reminding him of the bravery he had found earlier. The visitors finished their short break, and Sergeant Hale signaled that they would continue. As the group stood up, 10 Anastard, 10 Hularder. The guards shared small stories about each horse, funny habits, favorite treats, and little quirks that made them unique. These stories made the horses feel even more like friends, rather than distant animals. With every new story, the atmosphere softened. The formal image of the stables melted away, replaced by warmth and understanding. Someone asked, "Do the horses understand when people are different?" Sergeant Hale paused thoughtfully before answering. "They understand feelings," he said. "They feel calm when you're calm. They feel gentle when you're gentle. And sometimes, they understand when someone needs a moment of kindness." His eyes drifted toward Aster briefly, then toward Liam. Liam felt his chest warm again. The group continued exploring the stable, but now with a sense of connection that went deeper than curiosity. The horses were no longer just Royal Guard animals. They were gentle companions who had welcomed them with patience and care. Every visitor had a special moment that touched their heart. But the soft connection between Liam and Aster remained the brightest one, a quiet moment that had changed something inside him. And the day's most memorable moments were still waiting to unfold. Ease were so patient and kind. For the first time, in a long time, Liam felt like he was part of something bigger, not just a visitor, but someone who belonged in this gentle moment. As the group continued enjoying the outdoor space, Sergeant Hale stepped away for a moment. He walked quietly toward the stable and returned with Aster. She walked beside him calmly, her steps smooth and steady. When Liam noticed her, his breath caught in his throat. He hadn't expected to see her again before leaving. Sergeant Hale led Aster toward the group but slowed down when he saw Liam's expression. He didn't bring the horse directly to him. Instead, he paused and smiled. "Aster wanted to come outside for a little while," he said in a gentle tone meant for everyone but softly directed toward Liam. "She's very calm today." Aster flicked her ears and breathed softly, her attention drifting toward the familiar faces. But when her eyes landed on Liam, she stopped completely. Her tail swished lightly, and she lowered her head in a slow, careful movement. The entire group noticed the moment and naturally stepped aside, giving Liam space without being told. It felt like they all understood that something special was happening. Liam stood still, his hands gently touching each other. He took a deep breath, then another. Aster stepped a tiny bit closer, stopping just a short distance away. She wasn't trying to rush him. She simply waited, calm and patient, just like she had earlier. Miss Harper whispered softly, "If you want to go to her, you can." Liam nodded and took a step forward. His heart beat a little faster, but not in the frightened way it had earlier. Now, it beat with excitement, with hope, with the memory of how safe he had felt with Aster before. He reached out his hand slowly, and Aster lowered her head so he could touch her. His hand settled gently on her muzzle, feeling the soft, warm fur under his fingers. Aster breathed out a warm breath that brushed against his hand and wrist. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, letting the gentle warmth wash over him. "You're doing amazing," Sergeant Hale whispered, impressed by Liam's calmness. "She likes you very much." Liam didn't say anything he rarely did in moments like this, but the small smile spreading across his face spoke louder than any words could. Aster nudged her nose very lightly toward his hand, not pushing, just greeting. Liam let out a soft, breathy laugh, a sound so rare and gentle that Miss Harper felt her heart warm all over again. Jonah and the other visitors watched with admiration. "She really likes him," Jonah whispered, almost as if the moment was too delicate to speak loudly. The girl in the wheelchair nodded excitedly. Sergeant Hale stood quietly, letting the moment unfold naturally. "Sometimes," he said softly to the adults nearby, "the horses choose the people they feel most connected to. Aster is one of those horses who shows kindness in her own way." Liam gently stroked Aster's muzzle one more time. His touch was soft but confident. He didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He simply enjoyed the peaceful connection. Aster blinked slowly, a horse's way of showing trust. Liam smiled deeper. After a few moments, Sergeant Hale gently guided Aster to the side again so the group could prepare to leave. But before she walked away, Aster looked back at Liam one last time. It was a quiet glance, a gentle farewell. Liam raised his hand in a small wave. It was simple. It was silent, but it was full of meaning. The group slowly gathered near the exit gate. Some visitors chatted softly about their favorite horses. Others shared little stories about their experience. Everyone looked more relaxed than they had when they arrived. Before they boarded the bus, Sergeant Hale spoke warmly to the group. "Thank you for visiting. The horses enjoyed your company today. You brought them calmness, and they gave you their kindness in return." Officer Bennett added, "You are welcome to come again anytime." The visitors smiled and waved goodbye as they headed toward the bus. The girl in the wheelchair blew a kiss toward Cloud's stall. Jonah clutched his brush one last time before handing it back with pride. Some of the adults thanked the guards for their patience, their stories, and their gentle guidance. As Liam walked toward the bus, he turned back to look at the stable once more. Aster wasn't visible now, but the warm memory of her presence stayed with him. His steps were lighter than when he had arrived. His shoulders rested more comfortably. His hands, which usually behaved nervously, hung naturally at his sides. He felt taller, somehow not in height, but in spirit. Miss Harper watched him quietly. "Did you have a good time?" she asked. Liam nodded softly. "Would you like to come again someday?" she added gently. Liam looked toward the stables and nodded again, with a small smile that held more meaning than anyone could measure. As the bus pulled away from the palace grounds, the group looked out the windows, waving until the stables disappeared behind the trees. The ride back felt peaceful. Many of the visitors talked excitedly about their favorite horses. The girl in the wheelchair kept repeating Cloud's name. Jonah said he wanted to learn more about horses. And Liam sat by the window, watching the scenery pass by, holding the memory of Aster close to his heart. He didn't speak, but inside him, something had changed. Something had opened. Something had healed, just a little. The kindness of a gentle horse had become a quiet light inside him, one he would carry far into his future. And for everyone who had witnessed the moment, it was a reminder that kindness can come from the most unexpected places. Even from royal horses, standing tall and calm under the sun.